I was going to start the call by saying, you can see my T-shirt and it says "I'm limitless." This is the quote from my daughter, Natasha Moore, who is all her products now. You're going to see these kind of statements. But I was recently in a program. Let's kickstart right now. Hey, Ashdin, thank you so much for coming on the podcast with me to have a chat. As from one, I guess, teacher to another teacher, because you do certain things, and you're talking about your being as the habit coach. And this actually fell into the really perfect timing. And the reason I'm saying that is because I was in a 4-day training session with a really large reinsurance company in Hong Kong. Well, they're global, but I was doing training for the Hong Kong office. But they had participants from all over. They had participants from Korea, from India, et cetera, et cetera. And your name, I kept thinking of. The reason being, everything we spoke about during the training was about skills and attitudes. But it's all about some of the things they already know. So it's a reminder. Some of the things they learned new and they thought, oh, I like that. That's a very good technique. But I kept thinking about whether it's a reminder, refresher, or it's something new you learned. Unless and until you make it a habit, it's not helping you. So I kept thinking, and I actually gave them your name, and I said, hey, you guys can actually go on this habit coach and find the podcast, and he has tons of stuff as well. So hopefully you'll get a few participants kind of being curious and looking into that.
Thank you.
Purely because, skills are great, but unless and until we apply them, they're not working. And once we apply them, it shouldn't be robotic. They need to become a natural extension of your style. And the only way to do that is basically using your formula and making them a habit. And once it's a habit, then it's very natural.
Correct.
So that's how the whole principle. And I was thinking, I have a podcast with him on Saturday. Perfect timing. I just finished the training yesterday, so it was actually perfect timing. So tell me, how have you been, and what are some of the new ahas or learning moments from Habit Coach that people like us should be aware of and people should know about?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. I think habit coaching is something that constantly evolves because it was industry, or it's an idea that was created by me, I think some 9 years now ago.
Right.
Before that, there was no such thing as habit coaching. We had life coaches, etc., etc. But the idea that your life is created by the simple actions that you take and the simple thoughts that you have on a regular basis is where the format of the habit coach comes from.
Right.
And the whole idea about habit coaching changing over the course of time. One of the things I'm very excited about is the idea of moving from an accountability partner to a commitment champion. Because normally when you have an accountability partner, accountability means, and it has a slightly negative overtone to it. I have to hold you accountable. We hold the banks accountable.
You're being checked on. Yes, that's right.
Right. Enron was held accountable for this, etc. It's that format of accountability. But when you're doing something in a positive way, you don't necessarily need to be accountable, but you need to stick to a commitment that you make. So we're moving the entire lingo from accountability partner to commitment champion, because that's a far more powerful way of holding somebody who keeps you on the path of your habit and your commitment forward.
Excellent. Yeah.
And I think that habits are one of the best ways of showcasing self-love.
Yes.
Because ultimately, when you say, I want to make this change, you're saying, I'm going to make this commitment. And it's that promise that you're making to yourself. So it's, that's what we do to our loved ones as well. We make those promises. So these are the ideas that are currently floating around that I'm very excited about and sharing.
Interesting. It's interesting that you mentioned the word commitment, because at the end of the 4-day program yesterday, I made them all stand up and say, okay, tell me one thing that you are committed to taking back and applying. don't tell me just because you are trying to finish your homework and because we're leaving and you just want to tell me something so that we can end the session. I'm going, no, you think about it carefully. If it's something that you're willing and able to commit, then do it. And one of the things that always worries me in a training program is people take on massive actions and say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I'm going like, no, you're not. You know that, and I know that you're not going to do it. So I said, I'd rather you pick on a simple step, a simple commitment that I know, I believe you will, and you believe it will, even though some people might feel, that's such a normal one. Yeah, it doesn't matter, but it is a commitment, which means you're actually going to fulfill it. And that's what we want. We want positive reinforcement of everything that you're doing, right? So interesting that you mentioned commitment. That's interesting. So who are the more exciting, I guess, people or contacts that you have come across recently in your podcast, interviews, whatever it is that however you do your networking, I guess, is the question.
However I do my networking. Oh, so it's very interesting. I'm quite blessed that because of the podcast, etc., people come to me. So the networking is more pull oriented than actually going out. So it's very
Excellent.
blessed in that format.
Excellent.
We had Dr. Rane on the podcast. He's a person who's a biohacker. So the whole idea of health and biohacking and longevity was a podcast that we just completed recently. But some of my favorite podcasts, forget about recently, but in the past, have been people that I look up to or I've spent a lot of time reading. So there's a gentleman called Ken Honda who has written the book Happy Money. He's an absolute delight. We had such a lovely conversation. And again, like his team reached out to me, so it was one super happy moment seeing the email come in. So it was lovely.
Yeah.
Then we had Dr. DeMartini come on. So he's an absolute beast. Have you met Dr. DeMartini?
No, I haven't, but Honda, I have come across on an event. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to really, communicate with him that much. But hey, and it's a feather in your cap if they reached out to you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
When was that one done? Is it available on your podcast that I can go and watch?
Oh yeah, if you just Google Ken Honda, the habit coach, it should pop up. It'll come up on YouTube, etc.
Excellent. I'm going to go and look at that
These
one.
were again done during the lockdown, so all my international guests are all from there.
Okay. Because I've been, as you know, I just came back from my trip to the Caribbean islands, the Saint Martin. I was there doing some service enhancement training and supervisory enhancement training for the Saint Martin Hospitality and Trade Association, because the whole island, Saint Martin, as you know, it's half Dutch and half French, right? But they rely, I guess, 90% on tourism.
Oh, wow.
And after COVID, and then they had a couple of really bad hurricanes, for them to kind of try and build up again, one of the things is these guys reached out to us and said, we really need to build our tourism back. So we need to have a lot of service enhancement training. So we were there to do a pilot 5-day program. Actually, it isn't a 5-day, it was 5 one-day programs that we were doing. So we just did that. But basically on second day, the management reached out and said, when can you come back again? So obviously the feedback going back on day 1 and day 2 was already something they liked. And they said, we have so many hotels and so many other, I guess, avenues of tourism. So the airport, the retail operations, all those require it, right? So we're going to be going back probably in October, because I know they had asked us to stay on. I couldn't stay on because our calendar is full with other stuff. But we're hoping to go back there again in October. So that's a good thing. But
it's going to be fun. Tell me something, Raju. What according to you are mistakes that people make when it comes to service? Because it's a big one, and when you travel across the world, you find such varied kinds of service. Just if you take different aircrafts, it's airlines itself, right? the personality of the country almost comes to you in
It
that
does. It
airline.
does to a certain extent. Yeah. If I had to pin it down to a couple of things, it's very generic type of skills that people are lacking. People, they don't listen to understand. Mostly they listen to reply. So they hear one sentence out of you and they think, isko to ye chahiye, or he wants this, And but that's not always the case. You have to really understand what the customer is wanting. The second is because they're so inundated with different requests from different customers, patience is something that is sorely lacking. And unfortunately, I have to say this, but the people that are out in force nowadays, and I'm not talking about Generation Z or anything like that. I'm just saying the people coming out now to work in the service industry are only in it for a job. It's not a career. It's not coming from their heart. So basically, they are, providing service from what they've been told to say. So it doesn't sound genuine. Are you really giving me service and help because you want to or because you have to? And I think it's coming across more as they have to, so they're doing it. That's why patience level, listening skills, all these are kind of match. Yesterday, we were talking about dealing with stakeholders within this reinsurance company that I was talking about. Stakeholders can be same level. They can be senior to you. They can be external customers. So when they are giving you a difficult time or you need to have a difficult conversation with them, you can't exactly tell people what to do or what not to do because some of them are more senior to you. So, that all those skills of listening to understand, patience level, and then the most important one in their scenario was, how do I package my wordings so it doesn't offend, and yet it gets my point across in an assertive manner, not come across as aggressive. And that's why I immediately thought, oh, habit coach. That's exactly it, because just knowing it once is okay, but they really need to be able to get it as a habit. So I do it all the time without having to think 5 times before I say it.
Yeah.
So amazing.
You know about the McDonald's Dubai ma'am sir story? Are you familiar with this?
I heard about it, but tell me, go ahead and share it
So,
here.
since you
It'll
were
be
talking
useful for
about,
our listeners.
so because you were talking about the habits and people just saying things without thinking. So McDonald's and all the fast food restaurants in Dubai used to still hire a lot of Filipinos,
Yes.
and they have this habit of saying "ma'am sir,"
Yeah.
right? So everyone was a ma'am sir, whether you were a ma'am or a sir. If you were a man, you were called ma'am sir, right? And when I was there in Dubai, it became a huge thing. It was in the newspapers. Everyone was talking about how, we need to start training people with regards to this. And it's so interesting to see these little things
Yeah,
become pop
exactly.
culture
Yeah.
aspects.
Ma'am, sir. Yeah. I mean, and a lot of people will just laugh it off and think, what the hell? Doesn't matter, right? But some actually get offended by it,
Yeah, absolutely.
because like some customers and not everyone walks in with a good mood, good frame of mind, So they come in and you go, what the hell do you mean by ma'am, sir? Do I look like a ma'am to you? So it's horrible, But
Yes.
yeah, I guess there's too many service organizations right now providing service in a very mechanical and robotic manner. I think they need to, and one of the things I've always mentioned in now 33 years of my training life is, people lack the most basic ingredient, and it's called common sense. We learn all the fancy terminology, but the common sense seems to be lacking. So,
But
like the
Raju,
man,
how do you
sir,
teach common sense?
you
That
don't, you
itself.
can't teach it, but you just want to try and make them aware of it, so that they and the funny thing is, when you give examples of where common sense was not applied, everyone can relate to it and they laugh about it. And then you ask them, how about you? Have you ever done this? And then you have those very sheepish grins, It's like, oh, well, we're also, yeah. And it's not something, unfortunately, it's not something you can teach. unless as a habit coach, is there any suggestions for people where something like that could be done?
I have actually never thought about this because I've always taken for granted that common sense is something that your parents put in when you're
Yeah,
growing up. Those
exactly.
simple things like when you reply to an email, make sure that the name is exactly the same as what is the person who's sent you the email. Don't like take it for granted that you know the spelling because of the pronunciation. Like small
Exactly.
little things like this all add up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like the meeting that I had just before this was an online call. They are selling me something, and they wanted me to promote something for them, and nobody turned up on the call. So I waited for like
Huh?
5 minutes, 10 minutes, and email. Nobody,
Oh
no
my.
reply, nothing. And I'm just wondering to myself, like, how do people function like this, right? I mean, like this simplest thing. We rescheduled a couple of times. I know,
Ah.
very uncharacteristically of me, but it happens sometimes,
But it
you
was a
communicate.
conscious effort. Yeah, it was
Correct, you
conscious.
communicate. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, and you mentioned the names.
Hmm.
Now, when I have clients of mine that might call me by a wrong name, I absolutely have no problems with it because they are clients.
Correct.
But when you're reaching out to me to help you with something and you call me Rajan, Ranju, Sanju, I'm going like, listen, don't even bother because I really don't want to reach out anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand that sometimes, unfortunately, it is autocorrect and all that. But seriously, to get it wrong 3 times in a row
Hmm.
is like, no, unforgivable.
Yeah, we
And
do it when we're
especially
trying to make fun
because
of people.
exactly. And it's like, I remember when I was working for Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie, one of the basic principles was a person's name is the sweetest sound in their own ears. So if you can't get their name right, don't even bother reaching out because people are, you're not giving them enough respect. So, if you're Ashdin, you're Ashdin. I can't call you Ashu and Ashdini, funny names,
Yes,
even though
absolutely.
I have no intention of making fun of you, but it doesn't make sense and people don't like it.
So,
Right.
Raju, there
So,
was something I was looking forward to having a conversation with you. I was waiting for our podcast.
yeah.
I was talking to somebody the other day and we were talking about sales. And I know you're like the King Kong of sales. Like, why do people have this visceral reaction to wanting to sell? When you tell somebody that, now you'll have to do sales. In fact, there was a client who just got a sales job. And he's like, oh my God, I don't want to sell. I don't want to sell. And I was like, you're so lucky that you got a sales job. It's the only job that can expand exponentially if you
Yeah.
have a variable space
Yeah.
team on this.
It is
Why?
limitless.
It is
It is
limitless.
limitless.
Yes.
Exactly.
Why are people
Yeah.
so scared of selling?
The reason being, unfortunately, is because associated with selling is the definite fact that out of 10 people you try to sell, you
Hmm.
will definitely get 7 or 8 no's. And people don't like rejection. And they get very easily demotivated with rejection. So I think subconsciously that is what holds back. When you tell them you have to sell, they go, oh no, because they have reacted in the same way with people who are selling to them, and they go, no, no, not interested. So that could be one of the basic reasons for it. And the other, of course, is their own internal, confidence level. You know all about some people that are extroverts and introverts, and introverts generally don't want to be face to face to sell anything, but they have no problems in trying to sell online, huh? Because they put it
And I think
down.
introverts would be the best salespeople because they just want to get the job done and they know how to connect with people faster. They know,
Exactly.
yeah, I
In
think
in
introverts
in
actually
fact,
are
the
good at
extroverts
it.
sometimes go off target and start chit chatting about things that are not really related to today's selling. But
Mm.
yeah, I mean, so there's pros and cons in both, I think. But I think the most bottom line fear is that fear of rejection, which people have. They don't want to hear no because that's why people get into sales and then get out of it very quickly because they heard too many no's and it doesn't make them feel good about it.
Are there
So
any habits or are there any practices that people can do to get over fear of rejection or to become better at sales?
uh, I wouldn't say there's basically what they need to do is Typically we've always been told to face your fears. And that basic principle is literally there. I'm getting no's, no problem. I'm going to call, instead of 10, I'll call 20. And if I call 20, the beauty is, out of those 20, if you get 2 yeses, those motivate you much more than the 18 no's you got.
Correct.
So it's all about trying to amass more volume and doing more of it. The more you back off from it, it will never become a habit. They'll definitely avoid it in future as well. But think about it. In all our jobs that we do nowadays, corporate or non-corporate, selling is a very basic element. You are selling all the time, whether you're selling your products, services, or selling yourself or your ideas. So, I mean, it's something that we're doing all the time. I don't understand why that word selling gets so much fear in them.
Like I keep telling people that at home, if you want to eat pizza and somebody else wants to eat chana dal, you're selling the pizza
You're
to them.
selling. Exactly. You're selling. Even among friends, when we're deciding on which location, which restaurant to go to, you're selling ideas. You're selling them why you feel this one is better than the other one. So it's a basic element of human beings. We sell all the time. For some reason, people are just worried about that terminology of sales.
So segueing from this, persuasion, right? Because in life and in our home, persuasion is a bigger skill than selling in that context.
Yes.
Any tips on persuasion or being persuasive?
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with Robert Cialdini. Robert Cialdini wrote a book on science of persuasion. He has 6 principles of persuasion. I find that there's a few of them that are more reactive than proactive, which are kind of harder to use in real life. Like, for example, the first one he has is called reciprocity. Reciprocity means if I've helped you, ideally, at some stage, if I ask you a favor, you will feel the need to help me back. Now, unfortunately, I have no control over that. Right? And that's why a lot of people use reciprocity in a wrong manner. And this is how they use it. Hey, Ashdin, you remember 6 months ago when you asked me for help, and I helped you out with it. So right now I need some favor. Can you help me? That is not reciprocity. That is negotiation, right? You're doing a trade-off with people. So that's not right. So reciprocity is a lot harder to use. Having said that, one of his principles is called liking. Liking works beautifully. If people don't like you, there is no way you're going to influence them unless you are total subject matter expert and they have no other choice. Because the moment they have even the slightest choice, they still will go to someone else and not to you because they don't like it, right?
Correct.
So liking definitely work. Consensus is another one, which we use a lot in general life. When you're talking to people, you always end up sharing examples of, no, but so-and-so company, they're using this. Or, so-and-so is... all you're doing is letting them know that, hey, everyone's using it. So consensus, and people tend to follow things that everyone else is doing.
7 out of 10 dentists support this toothpaste that way.
Yes, exactly. So that one definitely works. So there's a few of them that actually we can hone in on and use them. In influencing, I find they need to be very clear, and a lot of people get this mixed up. Influencing and negotiation, they're not able to distinguish that clearly. Negotiation is about finding a third option, which you and I can both live with. Influencing is not about a third option. There is no third option. I want you to follow my way, right? I just need to put it in such a way that it is a friendly approach. You don't feel, like you're pushed into it, and there is, collaboration on it. But that's it. But it's still going to be my way, right? And that's the key difference. But people get, there's a lot of gray area, and people get blurred on those lines sometimes.
Yeah, I remember when I started my sales journey and started making my various businesses. At that point of time, I came up with this 2-step formula. I was like, if the idea is, if the person says, where have you been all my life? I know that the idea that I've gotten, I've communicated it correctly for this person.
Yes,
And the
yes.
second thing is, if they say, here, take my money, like, why should you negotiate? It should be just like, dude, like, what, where, like, here,
Yeah,
like, take it all.
yeah,
Just like, go,
exactly.
because this is what I need right now. And the idea is to get to that distillation of an idea so that it instantly clicks with the other person.
Yes. And that's
Which is the
why the
tough part.
principle of what's in it for them needs to be very clearly positioned. Because even if I want you to do something my way, there still has to be a benefit for you. If there's no clear-cut benefit or advantage, you're not going to do it.
Why would you?
So the structuring of my sentence needs to be, I need to be aware of what I'm asking you to do, but why is it going to be relevant for you, right? It's going to be relevant for the customers or, for the company. That's fine. That we all do. But why will it be relevant for you? And I think that's the missing hook that people, kind of forget to use.
Correct.
And therefore, it's very hard to influence people. Have you ever come across people that even after you tell them, you give them pretty much buying signals like, oh, wow, that sounds like a great idea. And then they're still going back and saying, okay, let me just walk you through. And I'm going like, why you still want to walk me through? I just told you it's a great idea.
Yeah.
So they kind of question their own confidence and their own advantages that they're selling. And that's a big challenge in selling.
It's the whole thing of closing. I remember this is how I asked my first girlfriend out. I was, I think, all of 13, 14 or something like this, and we liked each other, we were friends. So it was that, I love you. And she said, I love you. And I was like, do you want to go out? And she was like, yeah. And my instant reaction was, are you sure? It was that. And I'll never forget, these little moments that you remember for the rest of your life. And it's exactly the same thing. You didn't have the confidence in yourself.
Exactly. And she said yes, and you're still saying, are you okay?
Are you sure? Like, you're like,
yeah, I get that. And it's interesting because, obviously in our job, apart from doing sales training and various levels of sales training, negotiation, etc., we also have the advantage of sometimes going for joint calls with people. Right? So because we've done the training for them, now I want to see, are they actually using the skills or not? So some clients are open to that idea and they say, yeah, come along. And the beauty is they don't need to worry about me because we just tell them that, oh, this is our new hire and he's learning from the process. So I act dumb and I walk along. That's all. And you actually see this where the client is like ready to move forward with the next step. And these people are hesitating and, okay, so will you have any other challenge? And I'm going like, why are you doing that to yourself? He just told you he's ready to move forward and you want to dig another hole. You're creating another obstacle or a bridge. But there are many that we've seen who do that to themselves. It's unfortunate. But hey, practice, make it a habit. That's what it is all about.
ABC, this is called ABC, right? Always be closing. Raju, the internet is now accosted with videos on become a millionaire, become a billionaire, 500 and all of this. And there are a lot of these people who are showcasing / unethical ways of selling or promoting your product. Right?
Yes.
Like I was approached by this kid the other day who was saying that, Ashdin, we will completely change the way that your social media appears, and we will do this and we'll do that, and I only charge a small fee of $5,000. And I was like, small fee of $5,000? Yes, but for you, I will do it in $500. And I'm like, $5,000, $500, matlab bheja kahan pe hai?
Yeah.
And then and none of what the person says holds true to a little probing, so how many people have you done this with before? No, we got our first client recently who's doing this. And have you done this in the Indian market? No, but how different can it be? I was like, dude.
Yeah. When you say that sentence, how different can it be? you already have major question marks with this person, right? Also, one of the key negotiation tactics is when you have people who are negotiating with you and they immediately go from 5,000 to 500, that's already a big red flag.
Yeah.
I mean, you're supposed to, even if you do go down, you're supposed to go down in inches, not in miles, like 5,000 to 500. I'm going like, okay, sounds fishy, very fishy, so, hey, but there are a lot of these. I've been approached by many to say, we've seen your book available on Amazon. The P Factor that I wrote, right? It's available on P Factor, but I know the sales are not that great because the pricing doesn't seem right. And I'm going, first of all, you don't know the purpose of me having written my book. It was never to go on Amazon and sell and become a, whatever
bestseller,
a bestseller and all that. It was always with the intention of, hey, it's added material for my participants. If they want to read, I can give them a copy. If they are far away and they say, no, we'll buy a copy, that's fine. But it was never to make money out of it. So we think that it's because of the pricing. So, okay, we are happy to do the republishing for you. Okay. And I'm going like, okay, so what do I need to do? Oh, and then the same thing that you mentioned just now, the pricing that they give you is, one arm, two legs, and something else gone. I'm going like, if I needed to sell it that badly, I would have found other ways to do it. But you don't even know my need. And selling is all about understanding the needs and the urgency of the needs.
Correct.
So, I use examples of a dentist where, if you have a slight toothache, yes, it is a toothache, but nobody's going to run and see a dentist with a slight toothache. Usually, सब लोग अपना home remedy करते हैं, like I'll have salt water, I'll have this, I'll take a painkiller, etc. When you find that your pain is unbearable, that's when we run to the dentist. Generally speaking, there are exceptions to this rule, but most people, this is what happens. So we tell salespeople, when you're finding out customer needs, it's not just about finding out what they want and what they need. You need to find out how serious the pain is for them, that pain point. If it's not big enough pain, they're not going to move. They're happy with who they're using. Unless you can show them that, hey, this has so much more consequence for you, negative consequence. Correct. Now they're worried, they're sweating, and now they don't mind coming with you, right? It opens up that channel discussion of, okay, tell me more. I want, now I'm interested in it. So that's what happens.
So let me get some free advice from you.
Of course.
Since we're on this. So I have this way of like almost not negotiating with people.
Okay.
I have I'm fairly expensive. And once I say my price, it's like, oh, but like, what is the wriggle room here and stuff like this? And I was like, there's zero wriggle room because I only take so many clients. And there are people who are in line for this.
All right.
What is a better approach than I don't negotiate? Or is it a good stance to have?
It really depends on the key objectives. Now, if you're saying my schedule really has no wriggle room, not the pricing, my schedule has no wriggle room, then I'm happy to say, sorry, there's no negotiation on pricing. On the other hand, in my case, what happens is my calendar is never going to be 100% full. So I know I have certain slow periods, and I say, well, if you're willing to negotiate on the timings and let me decide when the timing is, I'm happy to come down a little bit on the pricing. That way, I use it to my advantage because I know I have lull periods, and I can use those lull periods and fill them in. So I get a slightly lower one here, but it's not going to be that much lower because, and that's one of the things you need to be very clear about. I'm happy to be flexible, but there's a limit to how flexible I can be, right? And this is the problem with people where when you say flexible, then they want to go ridiculously low. And I say, well, no, in that case, not happening.
I think one of the beauties of selling is also being comfortable walking away from
Yes. That's golden rule number one for negotiations. Is you must have your walkaway position clearly defined upfront before you even start negotiating. If you don't have that, and this is what you see a lot in, I'm going to use Indian stores as an example. You go to buy something, sir, last offer. And they say last offer like 7 times. And I'm going like, how was it a last offer, right? So your credibility keeps going down with every last offer you give. And that's why your walkaway position has to be clear. And you say, below this, I'm really sorry. I genuinely want to work with you. But at this, I really cannot. So I don't want to offend them. I don't want to close the door for any future cooperation. But here's the thing. This is the guideline. I would love to work with your organization. But at this, my hands are tied. I really can't. So that helps out because the funny thing is over 33 years of being in this industry, I found clients do walk away because I've told them I can't. And 4 months later, they come back at my price.
Correct.
Right? Or at my conditions. It's not always about price, but sometimes, they want to do a training program with maximum practice and they want 60 people in the room. And I'm going, okay, I still can do that, but I will have 3 trainers in the room. Oh, no, our budget is very tight, so we need 1. I'm going like, physically, it is not possible. Why would you even ask for something like that? But we're speaking to another company who said they can. I said, you know what? Lock them in. If they are telling you they can, lock them in, right? Because I don't see many other consultants saying yes to something like this because I don't think it's possible. But if they have some techniques, hey, go for it. So I should go and sign with them. I say, if you're getting what you're exactly looking for, go for it. Don't miss out on that opportunity. 4 months later, they come back and they say, oh, man, they promised so many things. It didn't happen. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I told you so. But you can't say that to them, right? You can't say that to them.
Oh, no, that's such a shame.
Yeah. And that's why you're building your relationship, building your credibility, and building and strengthening that trust factor between you and the client. Say, I'm here to assist you. I don't want to lead you in the wrong direction. So if I can't do it, I will back off. I'm sorry, but I can't. So, but they did come back, and then they remained clients for the next 5-6 years.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's the way you walk away as well. You know what? Yes. I'll help you out.
Yes. Yeah. And in that case, I was like, oh my God, they can actually provide that for you. Lock it in. Don't waste any time. Because if you lose that opportunity also, then you're stuck with no solutions. Go for it. And I genuinely cared for them. I really wanted them. I didn't think it was possible, but if, who knows, nowadays with creativity, maybe they have a solution. I always feel
when you become God in the next life, you can become omnipresent, omnipotent. Then you don't need like 3 other coaches with you.
I actually believe clients are sometimes looking for magic pills. I want my people to become better salespeople. Do you have any pills available? Yes, here, take this pill. Superstars, all of them, So sometimes we do come across clients like that. Although nowadays you will find a lot of clients who really know what they're talking about. And they ask for stuff that is reasonable. Yes, it is a bit of a stretch and it is a little demanding sometimes, but at least it's doable. Not the, funny request that you get sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that's true. Good. Hey, when you're enjoying talking, see how fast it's been 35 minutes already.
Time flies.
And more. Yeah, it's amazing. And it's great to catch up. But tell me, you were about to ask something or say something?
We have time on the podcast, right? How long do you normally have your podcast?
I mean, we try to keep it at 30-35 minutes, but we're okay. We can talk. Yeah.
Because there's a pressing thing that comes up. Yesterday, I was telling you I was at a workshop that I came back early for. And one of the other speakers at the workshop was a person who works in the AI space. And AI to empower sales.
Right. Wow.
It was a very it was a very scary presentation, right? Because the person said, all I need is one person's phone number and email address, and I will tell you about their entire life.
Oh my
And
God.
we did this as an example, and you saw like person's bank details, where they are employed, etc., suddenly pop up on the screen. And it
Wow.
was one of the, it was surreal and very scary at the same
It
time.
is scary. Yeah.
Now, the thing is that even though you might have all of this, it all boils down to the salesperson and the way that they're doing it, right? What is your take on like this new tech and AI that is coming into an industry like yours, which has been basically an industry that has, it's as old as time. Selling has been there for, ever since trade started,
Yeah.
or even before barter
Yeah.
system, etc.
Yeah.
Like, how will AI come in? Will it disrupt or will it do something?
No, I think, well, it depends on the person with the intentions that is coming in. So
Mm,
obviously it can disrupt, it can enhance. I think AI can help enhance in certain areas of your training. Like, for example, I told you during COVID time, I had prepared some self-learning videos,
mm,
right? And I tried to market them at that time, but people were still kind of close-minded about, do I want to do training? I'm not sure my company is going to survive. So nothing, all that. Last week, I had one of my existing clients who has called me and said, Raju, you told us that you have some self-learning videos. I said, yes, we do. And they're available on your website. I said, yes. Say, well, apart from the training that we're already doing with you, which is a continuing process, we also have a bunch of people that we want to do, provide them with some training, but not at a face-to-face level yet. We want them to start, the learning process. Can we talk to you about that? And I said, fantastic. Okay, so the digital marketing, the AI, it does help. It will come around and it will make your life easier.
mm,
I think all depends on that salesperson who's talking to you,
mm,
because like the guy you said, he said, give me a number and give me a name and I can find out his life history. Those are people who actually are damaging their own credibility by showing somebody else's bank details and everything. I'm not sure that's going to be a positive thing for him. But
mm,
hey, you never know. Nowadays, AI is going into so many different things. I'm a little worried,
mm.
maybe because I'm not as high tech as a lot of people. So I like to stick to basics. But yes, I found that has helped in certain aspects of it. Like in terms of our online workshops, it does help.
Mm.
Um, the self-learning videos that I'm just selling them now, they will be using AI to do translation. But I did tell them, listen, before you do the final translation and send it out, show it to me. Because what happens is you translate English to Cantonese or Cantonese to English is fine, but the actual sales language may not be correct, or
Right.
the training terminology may not be correct. So you cannot do direct translations
Mm.
sometimes.
The
So I said,
nuances
just
go.
show it to me. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
The nuances of it. Yes, exactly. So I'm going, just show it to me and we're okay to go.
mm.
And since they have the capability of doing it internally, even better. I don't need to have the headache of trying to find someone to provide that kind of a
But
service.
you don't need to find someone. There's an app called Hey Gen. Just
Yeah,
just find it. It
I've,
take your
I've, I've
video,
been
it'll
told
take your
about that one
voice, and it'll
before.
just change everything in whatever language you want to speak. Russian. From day after tomorrow, well, from this moment onwards, you'll be speaking Russian.
Oh,
It's
wow.
quite mad.
Okay. KGen,
Hey Gen.
KGen,
Heygen. Yeah.
Heyjen.
G for grandpa.
Okay. Hey,
Gen.
like generation, right? Gen.
Correct. Yeah.
So, hey, HEY.
Hmm.
Okay. I got to look into that.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds interesting. Exciting, scary, and interesting all at the same time.
Full khichdi.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Which is nowadays a scary thing. But hey, that can
Mm-hmm.
happen. That can happen. Nowadays, there's a lot of these kind of things happening. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Ashden. And I guess thank you very much for pulling out this time. I know your schedule was hectic because you just got back and then you were immediately in a workshop. And then today being a Saturday, I'm sure you want to kind of forget about everything and just rest.
Oh, this is a fun chat.
Yeah, it is a fun chat. I'm sitting at home, and I got back on a 28-hour flight from Caribbean, because there was connect, and then back. And I arrived here around 5 in the evening, in the afternoon. And the very next day, I had 4 days of training. So in my mind as well, Saturday, Sunday was going to be total sleep day and catch up on my sleep. And then my sister reminded me. She said, "Oh, but you have the podcast with Ashdin." And I said, "Yeah, but that's not work. We're going to have fun talking about stuff, so that's okay. That one's fine. I don't need any other meetings today. That's all." So thank you for the time. It is lovely talking to you as always. And I have the reinsurance client has asked me to connect with him next week, because he wants to try and connect me to some of his friends in India, which means there's a possibility I may come and visit you in person.
Amazing. Yay. Welcome.
I'm looking forward to that. Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. So you owe me lunch then, right?
Then let's do it. Fun. You like Parsi food? Come home.
Hey, I'm easy on food. I like the company more than the food that I'm having. So I'm absolutely okay.
Done.
Thank you, Ashdin.
Lovely.
I shall
Thank you.
look forward to seeing you. Very exciting. And let's keep in touch. WhatsApp. Yeah?
For sure. Done.
Excellent.
Ciao. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.